And with him is Marty Harpin, KK4RF, who's a trustee of that organization as well. I think I've got that right, gentlemen, is that correct?
Yeah, that's good.
I think
Great.
He's
so.
a director.
I think I'm a trustee.
Marty's a big,
Like that.
Marty's a big cheese.
That's right. Great, so we're very excited to have you gentlemen this evening, and we're going to turn it over to you, and looking forward to really learning about the ship, and you know, being in Wisconsin, it's all about the U.S.S. Wisconsin, right?
Right.
Okay, there you go, it's all yours.
Okay. Well, I'll start out with the first thing there. The U.S.S. Wisconsin is in Norfolk, Virginia. It's a museum ship, and it was decommissioned in 1991, and it was moved to Nauticus, which manages it in Norfolk in the year 2000, and the Wisconsin Radio Club has been around the same time, about 23 years, and we work very closely with Nauticus. And I invite anyone to go up there to look at the site at n4wis.org, and there's all kinds of information there on our club and so forth. The presentation I'm giving, and we're giving, Marty will be with me, is more about our radio setup than the ship itself. He wanted us sort of we had to have a manageable presentation, so we concentrated on our equipment and our stations and setup. I think it's a pretty good deal. Quite an interesting story as we go through it. If you want to go ahead and do that ship, okay, that's some statistics, basic statistics of the ship, its weight, its length, and so forth. Again, all that can be found up on the Nauticus website. Next slide, please. That's myself. Kneeling, and Marty's, let's see, Marty's on the left, and Rick, AC3IX is on the right-hand side there, and that insignia, the sign you see there is a magnetic sign that we put up when we're on operation, because we host the membership, or the members, and all the visitors that come on the ship. That's really a part of it. These our spaces are normally locked. It's not part of the tour for the ship, so we keep everything locked. When we're in there, we open it up, and we have to do sort of crowd control. But we really like getting the kids in there and show them ham radio and a little bit of CW, and particularly the World War II stuff, which we'll be showing you. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's a drawing, basic drawing. Not the greatest drawing in the world, but that came out of these ships' drawing book, and that gives you an idea of the antennas that we have on the Wisconsin. We use two verticals, one on the port side and one on the starboard. Starboard side has got a tuner, remote tuner, a LDG tuner, 100 watt. The other side, we just run straight through, and we plan on adding another tuner to that vertical as well. But we do have a Carolina Wyndham going up from the bridge all the way to the bow. It's a all band Carolina Wyndham. But the lastly, but the best in town that we have, you'll see the drawing there. It goes back to from right underneath the radar platform. It's up about 180 feet, and it's an end-fed long wire, about 139 feet long, and it works like a champ. Marty will tell you, he's been on AM with it, running it on AM. So that gives you an idea of our capabilities there. Four different antennas right now. You got limited space on a ship, just like you would at field day. Next slide. Okay, this is a picture of the QST article in October of 2022, and I think it's where Joe, we call Joe's eye there. It's a little write-up about, on the right-hand side there is Ed Williams, KN4KL, installing the long wire. That's up about 180 feet, something like that, about 120, 130 feet at least, and we're setting it all up, going up. That's in there, and also on the left-hand side is our World War II station. And we'll be going through more of that as we go through. But if you've got, you look at the October edition, you can see that. Also, you know, what I'll make an offer, we have got the link, and anyone that wants to download this presentation is more than welcome to it. It's free to the public. Okay, next show, please. Okay, this is nothing special to you, but it's a big deal to Marty and I. And we just installed this MFJ antenna patch panel. And it might sound like an easy job to do, but every time you do something on a ship, it's never easy. That is, I mean, we had to drill through steel and mounting everything, and we cannot bring any wood on the ship. No wood whatsoever is allowed. So you don't see any wooden desks, you don't see any wooden chairs, anything like that. But that's a simple antenna patch panel that we use to keep things straight. Next slide. And that's one of our, we have, to give you an idea, we've got, so we got 3 positions, 2 modern positions. One you're seeing in front of us, one of they're identical really, and they're ICOM 756 Pro 2s. And we each have a monitor, we have our computer, and we have internet. It's a whole story within itself, how we got internet out of there, but we have it. And we operate the modern equipment out of the modern space. We also have another space in the back room there with no equipment on it, but it's easily used for somebody who wants to bring their own radio on board and try it out on the Wisconsin. Why I'm talking about this, we normally try to operate the Wisconsin QSO party. So next time you have one, if we can get on air, listen for us. Next slide, please.
That worked really fast.
Okay, that's the World War II station. And I can just briefly tell you, I wish I could bring the mouse on it, but on the left-hand side is a TCS-12 transmitter, and right beside it is the, can you see my mouse? Is that pointer working?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No, right? Anyway, the next to it is a receiver, a TCS receiver. It's a super hit receiver, meaning it's got an IF. You can tell what frequency you're on and so forth. It's broader than a barn door, but it works. It works as well. This gear that we're showing you here on the left, those 2 pieces were used all the way up through Vietnam. And they were built back, if you see on the transmitter there, you'll see a tag. And that tag's got a checkout date of 1949. It went refurbishing in 1949. I rebuilt those about 5, 6, 7 years ago now. Completely rebuilt them, changed out the caps, set them, resistors, lined them, and so forth. The receiver uses a disc for an indicator, for a round disc. And the disc it had in it was a piece of cardboard somebody had made. So we scavenged a dial disc out of an old parts rig and realigned it, and it works out great. That transmitter puts out, what, Marty, about 20 watts or so on CW?
Actually, you can get up to 35 watts out, and on AM, it's rated at just 10 watts of carrier on AM, but we're able to get about 15 watts of carrier out on 80 meter AM phone. And we have a lot of fun making contacts, mainly on the East Coast on AM phone. So it's a lot of fun. And it uses a carbon microphone. And I wish I had the slides here that I could show you about the modulator in the old TCS transmitter, but it's the neatest little plate modulator circuit you'll ever see. You ought to look it up if you get a chance, or I could send you copies of the slides of the schematic of the TCS transmitter. It's really a cool transmitter.
Right.
So
we got more slides coming. We'll you really get a chance to see the transmitter really close up. The other 2 pieces are RAL and an RAK. I don't know if anyone's familiar with those. Again, we'll show you some pictures of those on the next slides. They're regenerative receivers from 1939 design, but they work really well, particularly the RAL. Next slide, please. There you go. That's a TCS receiver.
2 to 12.
that we were talking about, and that has direct readout. The only modification we did to that is we put LEDs in the window so you could see. It was so dark in there, you never knew what frequency you were on. So we put an LED strip in there to light up the dial a little bit. To give you an idea how tough it is, that receiver goes at 22 megs, I think. Yeah, 22 megs. No, I'm wrong. 12 megs.
12 meg.
Yeah.
12 megs.
So,
Wrong radio. 12 megs. So we can't put it on 20 meters. But give you an idea, the 40 meter band is what? Quarter inch wide, the whole 40 meter band. It's very, very tight. So it's touchy tuning and lining, but it does work. Right above it there is that's a tuner matchbox. That's got a variable, it's got a inductor, and you switch in inductance to match it up. That was used on lower frequencies to match up these whips that we have on the ship. We really don't use it, but it's there. It's brand new. It's brand new old stock. These radios are in excellent condition. I mean, they look like, you know, they were really well taken care of. Next slide, please. Now, there's a transmitter. That's a TCS 12. What you'll see on that, again, you can see the dial that's lit. This uses it's got 2 meters. One of the meters is the plates on top of the Marty. The plates on top, right?
no, the plate, for the plate current is on the bottom.
Yeah, plate current and also antenna current. When these things were manufactured, there were not any SWR bridges. They didn't exist. So they depended on current, antenna current. And it takes some getting used to. We use a watt meter. That's what we use, but it will work. And it loads up beautifully. You can literally load a screen door up with it, I think, Marty, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that meter on the top, that's an RF ammeter. So that's an RF ammeter.
Yep, for antenna current. Okay, next slide. Okay, there's the RAL and the RAK. The one on the bottom, they look identical, but they're the same design. And they're regenerative receivers, really, really sensitive, and actually have pretty good selectivity because it's audio selectivity. The RAL was completely rebuilt. It needed a lot of work. It had rubberized wiring. You know, a lot of the wiring had to be taken out and replaced. We replaced all the capacitors. A lot of work, probably a couple hundred hours that we have in that radio there. The one on top, we didn't do as much with it. It works very well. It's a LF receiver. It'll go down around 16 kilohertz, right? 17 kilohertz. It was made mostly to work with submarines on the ships, on subs. But we don't use it that much, but it does work very well. Next slide, please. That is an RBO. It's a shipboard entertainment radio. This particular radio really doesn't belong to the club, but it belongs to Nauticus, that own the ship, that run the ship, but we take care of it by agreement. And it's better than it was. It was sick. It had a bad RF amplifier tube that probably has been in there since the day the radio was made. It had more. It was a bad tube. And it took out the screen and the plate resistors and so forth. It still has a couple issues with it, but we're working on it as we get the time to do it. That'll do the broadcast band, but also some shortwave bands. And we keep that in our World War II side. The equipment I just showed you is on a separate space, and we call that our World War II space over there. And everything in there is tubes. I mean everything. Next slide. That's sort of our workbench where we have the RBO working on it. We have a workbench, we keep scope in there, some test equipment, basic test equipment, signal generator, whatever we need. And this stuff is just too darn heavy to carry home and to drag home. Hard enough getting them up there. But we go down there and operate 4 or 5 times a year with special events. But Marty and I and a few of the guys, we might go down a couple times a month just to get on the air and operate, do a little bit of maintenance, and have fun. Even in the wintertime, we go down. Next slide, please. All right, here you go, Marty. Here's a story. This guy is a mannequin. We've been trying to get a mannequin. We have another space, a third space on the O1 level, and it's a static display, which you'll be seeing. And we have been looking for a mannequin, and it turns out Nauticus, the ship, had a mannequin in the break room. They used mannequins throughout the ship on the tour, but they pulled them off. They said it spooked a lot of people. So they had this guy left over, and they said, you can have him. He's a chief petty officer. Okay. Next slide, please. We just busted him down to an E5. He's an E5 radioman. And his name is Norman Bates. RM2 Norman Bates. So he needs a haircut, but we're going to just leave him alone. I'll show you, next slide, I'll show you the back what it looks like. That's what it looks like through the hatch when the visitors come. The hatch is blocked off. We have a half a gate so they can't go in. And that's the back of Norman's head there and operating. And by the way, the typewriter you saw there is a World War II communications typewriter. You may want to ask, what is a communications typewriter? Well, it's all capital letters, and it has a slash through the zero. And I'm a radioman. I was an ex-radioman. I was a Navy radioman, and during the Vietnam era, in Vietnam. And we had the same typewriter. Oh, not newer. We had Underwoods, but the same thing. Uppercase with a slash through the zero. We used them to copy Fox, the broadcast, and also to type up traffic. Next slide, please. Okay, this is one of our newest acquisitions. This is a World War II, 1943 deck clock. Absolutely mint condition.
Yeah, it is.
We had this donated to us by a ham out in California. A lot of this, all the equipment you see, I'm trying to think, all the equipment you see has been donated, everything. And that comes from scrounging around, putting ads in electric radio, QST magazines like that, websites, whatever. I had an ad in electric radio, which is a boat anchors magazine that Marty and I and a bunch of us that work on boat anchors subscribe to. And a guy sent it to us. He said, hey, if you pay for postage, you can have it. So we just put this up, about a month ago, something like that now. But we're really happy to get that. It's really neat. Next slide, please.
And I might add, it has the right time twice a day.
That's right.
But it
All
works.
right. We have two of these BC 611s. That's a handy talkie from World War II.
Wow.
And it's on 3885, the AM frequency, today's for AM frequency, made by my old company, Motorola. And again, it's on 80 meters. And we have one there and we have one over in World War II side. Without the batteries, they're still pretty heavy. But when the kids see this, they think it's an early cell phone. So you sort of got to explain to them what's going on, you know? Next slide, please. This is a SCR 578. It's the Bible transmitter. Not a transceiver, transmitter. And this one, particular one, came out of a B-17. It's got stamped right on it. What this is, this transmits on 500 kilohertz, which is the old, I heard somebody talking about a little earlier about lightning strikes, but on 500 kilohertz. It's on 500 kilohertz, which is a distress frequency the Navy used. And I guess a lot of the other armed forces used it. It was on 500 kilohertz. You see the wire, the doors open, there's a tether. That's a copper wire. And you had to get that thing in the air somehow. And you can transmit CW. You had to crank it. You can't see it crank too much easily. It has a crank on top. You crank it. You got to really crank it just to get the filaments on the tubes going. So you got to crank it for about a minute or so just to get power out. And you can send CW or a distress signal automatically, or you can, that's got a built-in keyer. The thing is, I had a part checking it out, it's absolutely mint condition. It's all waterproof and so forth. But there you go, that's the, we call it a Gibson girl. It goes between, it just sits between your knees and you just crank on it. It might look pretty primitive, but I'll tell you what, if you're out in the middle of the Pacific with no help, it looks pretty darn good, right? To get this tether in the air, there's a couple ways of doing it. The easiest way was it had a kit with it with a helium balloon, but you blow the balloon up and you tie the tether to it and up she goes. Or you can use a kite. I cannot imagine putting a kite together in 20-foot waves, but they had a kite there as well. Matter of fact, we have one of the kites, the originals. But that's pretty neat. That thing weighs about, 25, 30 pounds. So you don't want to drop it on your foot. The BC-17s, the B-24s, all those, they had these with their life rafts. So if they had to ditch at sea, it went with them. Hopefully it went with them. Next slide. And that's it. We went through them pretty quick, I guess, Marty.
It's a nice
I guess
picture.
we can open it for questions there, Joe.
Anyone have any, go ahead, Colleen.
Real loud.
Was most of that HF equipment made by Collins at the time?
The question is, was most of the HF equipment made by Collins at the time?
I think they had different manufacturers. But Collins did make those. Yes.
Well, I'll tell
They
you,
were made, I think, under a couple of different contracts. If you're familiar with the R390, it's the same way. You know, Motorola made them, and also, of course, Art Collins. But I'll tell you, they're beautiful. The transmitter, what we worry about in that transmitter is a TR relay. Eventually, every time you key that transmitter on CW, this TR relay clangs and bangs. So, but it's built pretty heavy. But if that TR relay goes, well, it's going to be a big job changing it. It's rated as such. It's very difficult to change. Actually, we thought about maybe if it breaks, if it does go down, is go to maybe put grid block keying in or something like that. Get rid of the relay.
but I'll tell you though, Bill, I think the relay's gonna last longer than we do.
Well, that may be true. I hope so.
And we do have some replacement relays on the ship, so if it ever wears out, I mean, that relay, it collects with every dit that you send on CW. So, you know, after an hour of operating, that relay opens and closes probably thousands of times. But so far, it's held up pretty well.
Yep.
Guys, I got a couple of questions for you. Why can't you have wood on board the ship?
Fire.
Fire
Fire hazard.
Really?
No wood and absolutely no food. No food whatsoever. They don't want a rodent problem. And there's no wood whatsoever.
Somebody should have told the kamikazes.
I don't think the ships had it. I was on the U.S.S. Wainwright, DLG-28, and none of the ships had wood.
Do you guys, being
That wood
so,
was black or something.
being so close to the ocean with a salt air, do you have a lot of corrosion problems with your radios?
Not really. But we do have, we keep those hatches closed up. Those hatches are sealed when we're not there.
Yeah. All
But
right.
you're right, it is a concern. The ship suffers from that, you know? They're always working on that ship, on the ship, doing maintenance.
Colleen, you got a question?
Yeah, I'm surprised to see you've got one of the BC-611s. I sold for Motorola for many years, did my own system design engineering. And every once in a while I'd run into a customer that said that they were made by two different companies, Motorola and Crosley. If it was a Crosley radio, they refused to carry it. But if it was a Motorola, they were happy. And it kind of paved the way for a lot of my sales, I guess, from the old guys from
Yeah.
World War II.
Well, welcome. It's good to meet a fellow Motorolian. I was there 25 years. Yeah, I worked out of the DC, Baltimore area.
If somebody wanted to come down to Norfolk, Virginia to see you guys, what kind of hours do you have there, and what's the procedure?
The procedure would be to email us up on the website, email us. The ship hours, if you want to make a note of it, are on Saturdays from, we can get in there, we can get on the ship around 9 o'clock and close it around 4. Sundays is 12 to 4 p.m. And we normally don't go down on Sunday because you only got 4-hour window. But on Saturday, but if anybody wanted to visit, just email me, Marty, somebody, one of the leaders on the website, email, give us some heads up, and we try to accommodate you. We do that. We get requests all the time. We really do, and we do our best we can to accommodate people.
Who's got a question? Anybody? Well, how do you like that? We're out of questions.
Okay.
Ham's the
All right. The Motorola guy. What's his last? The person that said it was a Motorola.
His name is Cully.
Cully Cole,
Give him a call sign.
What's your call?
KS0D, Kilo Sierra Zero Delta.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I don't think we've ever met, but I used to go up to the 1313 and go to the museum,
Yeah.
the Motorola museum before they tore it all down. So.
They put that in after I left the company. That
Oh
museum.
yeah. It's
I was
after
part
I
of the
left.
museum, I guess.
I retired. I left there in '97. So
Uh-huh.
anyway,
Do you guys have any normal hours and frequencies in case I'd like to?
no.
No?
What I can recommend you do is go to the website. Keep an eye on the website. We're going to be doing museum ships on the air in June. And again, check the website. I'm not sure if I got the dates written down here yet.
Do you do a field day?
No, not really. We could do it on air, but not normally. We do museum trips on the air. We do the Wisconsin Club, the Virginia QST party. We do the birthday for the ship. What else, Marty? We do.
Pearl Harbor.
That's right. In December, we do the Pearl Harbor special event. The museum ships on the air is really a good one, in particular, because it's sponsored by the U.S.S. New Jersey, and that's an Iowa class ship. And we work closely with the Jersey, North Carolina, and some of the other Iowa class battleships. But there's ships on there from all over the world. And what we've got with the internet capability, what we can do on the Wisconsin is we can spot ourselves, and with letting people know where we're at. But we try to get on the frequency and stay there. And if you hear ship to ship, that means we're going to work another boat, either a carrier or in Lexington, museums, any of those ships, museum ships.
Do both of you guys have service history?
Yeah.
I was over at the Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia from 1984 to 88, and I was in the reserves for a few years before and after that time as well. So I had a good time in the Navy, but I didn't want to stay in.
And I was a radioman, 67 through 71, on the U.S.S. Wainwright, the DLG-28, and also the U.S.S. Glennon. They were all out of Charleston. And we did a tour. We did a Westpac cruise over in Yankee Station on the Wainwright. I was a radioman, and my if you especially was high-speed code, Morse code.
Bill, doesn't it, you must be set back when you think of the 50 years since you've been in the service, how electronics have changed in the last 50 years, and
Oh yeah.
you've seen it all.
It has. Getting into that, it really has changed. The Navy's changed. We could have spent 2 more hours on equipment. The Wisconsin, what's neat about the Wisconsin, you're talking about, is it went through a reframe, it went through a rework, I don't know, back in 85, 86, somewhere in there. They got rid of all the teletype out of there, and they used terminals. All that stuff's still on the ship. And but they kept the HF equipment there as well. They've got the UCC-1, the R1051 receivers, and the amplifiers, and they had some, so a lot of the equipment was still there. Even though they had satellite communications on that ship, they kept the HF equipment as backup.
50 years ago, how did you contact submarines?
I never dealt with the subs, but you did it on LF. You did it on LF. That's what the REK receiver was. That was used for submarines.
Is it pretty much the same nowadays, or do they have something?
I don't.
You'd have to
Well,
shoot
you know,
me if you told me.
We just had a presentation actually this past weekend for the QCWA club, and the presentation was on the big transmitter up in the northeast. Let's see here, was it New Hampshire, I think? It operated on 17.8 kilohertz, so 17.8 kilohertz, not megahertz, but kilohertz. And it had a 1 million watt output transmitter, and the antenna farm was a 3,000 acre antenna array. So an incredible antenna array, and this was all for the submarine communications. And they have 3 of these sites around the country, and they're still in operation. They still operate on VLF frequencies for the submarines.
Yeah.
All the billions of
Bring another
people
note.
died.
Talking about HF real quick. Like I said, I was over in Westpac, over in Yankee Station on Tonkin Gulf, and the propagation and everything we had was HF. We didn't have the satellites that they have today. And we copied the broadcast, which is the lifeline for the ship. It really is. When I mean broadcast, I mean copy and use a teletype. And we ran about 6 channels of teletype. And the propagation was so bad. The Navy had a couple of flat tops. You probably heard bird farms.
Yeah.
And they were old carriers, and they had LPHs and so forth, huge antennas that were gyro controlled as the ship moved. And they ran that thing on LF as well. Okay? And that stuff just copied solid. It was solid. And it was beautiful. But when we pulled off station to go up the Subic Bay, to take on ammunition and fuel, whatever, the range is very limited on LF, as we all know. So then we're back to fighting the HF frequencies again. But I will say this, when I was over there, all the time I was on the ship, very fortunate to be a radioman, but I always kept a spare receiver open to listen to 20 meters, to find out what was going on,
That's great. Guys, I want to thank you so much. This has been extremely interesting.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining this stuff, okay?
Very enjoyable, and next time I take a vacation down south, I'm going to see you guys.
Yeah, let us know. We'll be glad to host you, okay?
You'd be amazed how many people visit the ship from Wisconsin just because it's the Wisconsin balance.
That's right.
We usually, every time we're down there, there's at least one couple that comes from Wisconsin, and they said that they always wanted to visit the ship. So it's a neat tour to take a tour of the ship.
Let me give you one more story. One more story. Okay, we needed a power supply for the TCS. It's called a shore power supply. The thing weighs a ton. And we had one donated to us from Wisconsin. I think it might have been up around Milwaukee. So, but the shipping would have killed us. So I was thinking, okay, how are we gonna get this power supply down here to Virginia, down in Norfolk? Well, I got the bright idea of putting it out on a website, on Nextdoor. If you folks have Nextdoor, Nextdoor is a local website for the neighboring neighborhoods, and you can get on there and put stuff for sale, whatever. Okay, so I put out on Nextdoor, hey, anybody, it was in the summer, anybody happened to be going up to Wisconsin, could you help the ship out, the museum ship, bring a piece of equipment back for us? And would you know, about a couple of days later, a lady called and said she's going to see her daughter. And she stopped by and picked up the power supply for us and brought it home.
Wow.
And I met her, remember that, Marty?
Yeah.
Yep. That's how we'd be able to get some things like that.
She had really big arms too, as I recall.
That thing's heavy. That thing weighs about 70 pounds. All right, we'll let you guys go. Listen, have a good meeting, and Thanks for inviting us in, Joe.
Oh, thank you. You got a question?
That was a way.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, take care.